Welcome, everybody, to week 5, where we're going to check out prize picks props, or lines, I should say. I'm going to switch up the format just a little bit this week. Prize picks has been getting, I think, the sharpest they've ever been. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that it seems like a lot of their lines or their plays are being pulled directly from sports books this year as opposed to previous years. So, in handling that, I think that we should kind of cut through some of the noise and focus on some top plays this week instead of me spending some time on some more outlier plays. I wanted to kind of jump right in, give you some more actionable information, hopefully a little bit quicker and a little bit more direct for you guys. So if you have any concerns or improvements on format, feel free to let me know in the Discord. I take time to check in over there and see if there is any feedback. But without further ado, we're going to jump into the plays that I like the most this week that are on this Saturday's slate. So we're going to start our journey with rushing yards and Mr. Nicholas Singleton, Penn State running back, playing Northwestern today or this week at they're playing Northwestern at Northwestern. So Nicholas Singleton's rushing yard line here is at 75.5. Now, last year he hit this in 7 of the 13 games that he was in. He has yet to hit this line in 2023. So there's a little bit of pause there, but they're playing Northwestern in a game that I think that Penn State's going to really want to start to get that running game involved. They're only a few short weeks out from really hitting the heart of that schedule with Michigan and Ohio State coming up. And it seems like Singleton and Katron Allen are they're comfortable, but they're not yet really hitting their stride. And they want to see them start to hit that stride when it counts in those Michigan and Ohio State games. So I really like Singleton's play at 75.5. I think that he's got a good chance of breaking a big one. I think he's a great play this week in DFS and really anywhere. So I am in on this Nicholas Singleton 75.5. I'm going more this weekend at Northwestern. My second play here is going to be DeShawn Edwards. His line is at 72.5 rushing yards this week against Auburn. I am going to say more here because Auburn's pass defense, we saw this a little bit with Texas A&M last week. That's really the bread and butter of their defense. So I think that DeShawn Edwards has a great chance to be the foundation of what this Georgia offense really leans on. He's already hit this one time this year. He's only played in 2 games so far, so he's 50% this year on hitting this line. But last season, in 8 games where he received 12 or more carries, he hit this in 5 of them. So against a team that I think is a little bit of a run funnel and in a matchup where he should hit that metric of 12 or more carries, I think DeShawn Edwards is a smash at 72.5. Really like that line. It is the 2:30 Central matchup here against Auburn. Third play of the day, we're sticking with rushing yards. Really have leaned on those. Prize Picks hasn't really pumped out the fantasy points content or the lines for fantasy points until really close to those games happening. We're here about midday on Thursday and still haven't seen any fantasy points posted for Saturday. So sticking with rushing yards, Ray Davis, 79.5 rushing yards against a stout Florida defense. I'm going to say less than 79.5 rushing yards. So Ray Davis has only done this one time so far this season, and it was against Ball State. I think, obviously Florida is a better defense than Ball State. This game is going to be in Kentucky, so it is a home matchup for them. I think both teams are kind of reliant on that ground game and will try and run the ball and pound it out. But the way that Kentucky's split that backfield, Ray Davis is definitely the running back one, but they've been getting a little bit more a little bit more involvement, especially in, I believe it's McCune, their backup running back for him, or it might be McLean. Either way, their backup running back. I know he's been getting some touchdown vulturing. Ray Davis has been a little bit disappointing so far this year. Not necessarily in the total output of fantasy points, because in the end he usually gets a touchdown, but there have been some serious sweats on whether or not he's going to hit fantasy point thresholds so far this year. So I'm leaning the under. A little bit thinner of a play than the two before it, but I really do have questions on how efficient he's going to be against Florida. We will switch it up here and go to receiving yards for these last two. I have Brendan Rice here at 54.5 receiving yards. I'm saying that he's going to hit over or have more than 54.5 receiving yards this year. So currently this season, he is averaging 16.5 yards per reception. Some crazy efficiency, some huge big plays thrown in there. I think USC is going to be able to gash Colorado. I think they're going to have multiple big plays. I'm a little bit nervous relying on a USC receiver to hit an over. But if you're going to do that, I think Brendan Rice is the guy that you want. He had one reception for 75 yards earlier in the season, and that he took for a touchdown. I believe that was in week 1 or week 0. Last week, he just blew up 7 receptions, over 100 yards. It seems like they're consolidating the receivers just a bit. Now that's still probably going to be distributed between 6 or 7 guys. But I like leaning on the more here for Brendan Rice to hit more than 54.5 receiving yards. And then we've got Xavier Worthy coming in. Let's see where he's at here. I like to pull these up so that everybody can see. So 62.5 receiving yards against Kansas. I am going more than 62.5 receiving yards. So target distribution for Xavier Worthy so far this week or this season. He had 10 targets against Rice, 10 targets against Alabama, then start to nosedive. Only 6 against Wyoming, and then only 3 against Baylor. That being said, his fantasy production has been pretty consistent. He's found the end zone. He's a guy who I'm very interested in seeing what that fantasy score prop is going to look like come Friday or Saturday. If I can get in there before that game and see if maybe that's a little bit more appealing than this one. But that being said, it seems a very simple explanation on why his targets have decreased against Wyoming. Against Baylor, he didn't need to get the ball that many times. They have really started to establish the ground game. It seems like in the past 2 weeks. That's great. But Kansas is a team that is going to give Texas their best game. They have consistently taken them to the wire and come out on top in the past few years. This is a Kansas team that wants to do it one more time while Texas is still in the Big 12 before they head out to the SEC. So I think they will get a tight game. I think they will get likely a high-scoring game. And I think Xavier Worthy is going to be relied upon. I know Texas has more weapons than they've had in the past, but with 62.5 receiving yards, Worthy's already done that 2 times this year. And he did that in those games where he got the higher target thresholds. I think he's getting higher targets this week than he has the last 2 weeks. And I think that he is a great option moving forward this week. Overall, so those are the 5 guys that I am really keyed in on this week. There are a few other ones that I am okay with, but I don't love. So we'll keep those off of here. You'll be able to ask some questions in the Discord. If you do have any questions on, you're feeling one play, or especially these Thursday and Friday night plays where we're starting to see fantasy point lines come out on, let me know. Feel free to tag me in the Discord, and I'm happy to jump in and give my take on them. We have a great tool over at Campus to Canton, the player prop tool. That's what I heavily rely on when I'm trying to figure out what plays I'm going to figure out this week. It gives you a breakdown, just like I did, on how often they have hit that threshold so far this year. You can go back to 2022 and see what they did last year. I know that Jarek and the guys at C2C have put a lot of work into that tool, and even started incorporating some Vegas totals and some spreads so that you can have a reliable tool when going in here and trying to find like situations to compare their performances to in the past. So check that out. Feel free to ask any questions about that tool in the Discord as well. It is a favorite of mine, and I rely upon it heavily. So if there's anything else, you know where to find me. I am looking forward to this Saturday. Hope everybody has a great one and gets after these prize pick lines early. Have a great Saturday, guys.